Have you ever spoken something and it led you into trouble? In this video, we will learn the benefits of talking less and completely staying silent. In the other part of the video, we will learn on the practices on how to stay silent. Before diving into our video, I would love to give you my story that taught me to stay silent or talk less. I was an employee in a certain institution. I remember it was a day we had a certain meeting. During the meeting, I spoke something that aimed at criticizing the management. I remember the issue was go ahead from the top management that cost a lot of millions. At the moment, I believed that speaking immediately and directly would be the way of handling the situation. I pointed out the problem that I saw. Everything I said might have been true, but the way I delivered it came from emotions rather than wisdom. I would like to confess about that. Some colleagues supported me, but others stayed silent completely. Now guess what? It was taken differently. But as I can remember, I had an habit of joining the office group discussions which were about different problems that were going on in the institution. A few days later, I was fired. At first, I blamed the management completely, but with time, I started reflecting on something deeper. I started discovering that not everything true should be spoken in the heat of emotions. If I had stayed calm, observed more, and chosen my words carefully instead of reacting emotionally, the outcomes might have been different. Now that story takes us to our video. Let's start with why silence matters in some places. Silence as silence gives you some time to reflect on your responses. Let me tell you something, dear one. When you learn to stay silent in the moments of anger, pain, or emotional pressure, you begin noticing something powerful is happening in you. The intensity of anger starts reducing. How is this? When you let your brain to calm down for some seconds before responding, different thoughts start colliding within you. One side wants revenge, and sometimes emotional reactions or harsh words, while another side pushes you towards wisdom, patience, and self-control. And most of the time, when you give yourself silence and time, the positive thoughts finally get chance to win. For example, someone insults you. Your first emotions say, embarrass them back immediately. But when you remain silent, it creates a space for another thought. If I react emotionally right now, I may regret it later. Let's take a look on another scenario. Your boss criticizes your work harshly in front of the others. Your emotions may tell you to argue instantly, right? Walk away angrily, right? Even quit the job. But silence allows you to calm down first. Instead of damaging your reputation through anger, you respond professionally after thinking clearly. Conclusively, silence doesn't mean you have nothing to say. You are giving wisdom to speak before emotions take place. Number 2, silence facilitates audience engagement. When someone starts complaining or expressing frustrations, most of us tend to rush in defending ourselves, explain everything, or sometimes attack them back with words. And remember, when throwing words at each other, real listening disappears. Why does this happen? Because our minds feel hit emotionally just because they think we have been ignored or made to feel worthless. The moment we feel resisted, emotions rise higher. But when we remain silent and calm for a moment, something changes. Their voice softens, their shoulders relax, and eventually they become willing to listen to you too. For example, a co-worker says, "You never support the team." If you instantly respond with, "That is not true and you are not the boss. Stop minding me," the argument escalates immediately. But if you pause, stay calm, and listen first, when the co-worker releases their frustration, the emotional energy changes. Now they start speaking reasonably. Let's take another example. Somebody close to you, maybe your partner, says, "You never understand me." Instead of interrupting or defending yourself immediately, you stay quiet and let them finish speaking. That silence can make them feel heard instead of opposed. And when they feel heard, they naturally become calmer. To tell you the truth, silence does not mean surrender. Sometimes silence is what allows understanding to enter the conversation. Number 3, silence establishes you as a respected figure. Most of us do believe that when somebody goes silent, they are ignoring you, they are upset with you, or sometimes they are trying to hurt you. But the truth is, silence can mean something much deeper. Here is what silence can actually mean. Silence protects your character. When emotions are high, reacting too fast can lead to regrets. Now with that, silence gives you some time to think before responding. It avoids you to speak hurtful words, and the words you can never return them back into your mouth. Roman 2 of the points, silence keeps you away from the negative outcomes. Sometimes people want conflict. They want you to react emotionally. But emotionally mature people know the exact time to stay silent instead of collapsing under pressure. For example, someone may yell, insult you, or try to provoke you. And instead of exploding, you stay centered. Not because you are weak, but because you have control of yourself. And to tell you the truth, that is strength. Let's Let's talk about being hated by peer just because you are a much knower. This reminds me of my educational journey story. I used to think that intelligence would earn me respect. Back in secondary school, I was a student who always had something extra to speak. During debates, while others were satisfied with simple arguments, I pushed the conversations deeper. I would challenge the logic behind them, question the evidence, and introduce the complex ideas that most of the students never even heard. At first, teachers loved it. They called me sharp, brilliant. Every debate session felt like a battlefield, whereby my weapon was thinking faster and deeper than everyone else. I enjoyed seeing the silence after asking questions that no one could answer, but slowly I started noticing something was changing. Whenever I raised my hand, some students started rolling their eyes. Others whispered before I even spoke. My classmates stopped sitting near me during the class discussions, and some started joking that I was debating just like I was fighting people instead of discussing ideas. At first I ignored it. I told myself, that's jealous. They are jealous of me. They hate me because I'm intelligent. But the truth became harder to deny. During debate competition, my own teammates started avoiding talking to me, and specifically after the event. One finally decided to reveal it. I remember he said, "You always make people feel small." The sentence stayed in my mind for weeks. I never insulted anyone directly. I never shouted. Yet my constant criticism, endless corrections, and the habit of turning a simple discussion into a complex discussion. This made my fellow students uncomfortable. Instead of sounding curious, I sounded like I wanted to prove superiority. The more I tried to show knowledge, the more isolated I became. Soon, the classmates started approaching me when they needed help with assignments. Outside the academics, I was isolated from jokes, conversations, and social cycles. Students respected my brain but avoided my presence. That loneliness taught me something that debates never did. Intelligence without emotional awareness can push people away. People want understanding, not interrogation. Being hated by peer is not always about knowledge. It's how your knowledge affects the group dynamics. Your teammate, your close people may react differently when you correct others too often, when you sound superior intentionally, when you make others feel less informed. A much knower can be easily interpreted as competitive, prideful, intimidating, or attention-seeking, and even when that is not an intention. Now this is where silence becomes important, not as a weakness. Number 3, silence hides your weaknesses. This means speaking less or staying silent during the emotional moments can prevent other people from easily seeing your insecurities or emotional instability. When you react too quickly, you often reveal too much. You expose your fears, desperation, jealousy, lack of confidence, or emotion pain through uncontrolled words. But silence creates emotional protection. It gives you time to think before speaking, time to avoid revealing things that may be used against you later. For example, when you often explode with unnecessary topics about you, people immediately start learning about what affects you emotionally. They know your psychological and emotional weak point. But if you stay calm and silent, they become unsure. Benefit number 4, silence enhances goal execution efficiency. When you talk less and focus more, you protect your energy, you avoid distractions, and give your actions more power than words. Many people tend to announce their plans, tend to announce their dreams, and every move before even they start. They spend much time to explain about their goals. Yes, we accept they have motivation, but they lack focus, they lack discipline. At the end of the day, they get discouraged, they fail, and sometimes they feel embarrassed. But when you stay silent, you lock yourself into that work. Instead of seeking attention, validation, you quietly build yourself, then results speak. Imagine this, 2 people want to start the business. One person keeps posting the ideas online, talking about becoming the rich, telling everyone about becoming successful before even starting. At the end of the day, the business fails. Another person works quietly, learns skills, saves money, makes mistakes privately, improves slowly without needing an attention. Eventually, people become shocked by the results themselves. Let's take a look at the second scenario. Imagine working at a company with poor management, office politics, favoritism, delayed communication, and many frustrating problems. But the salary helps you to support your family, pay bills, and build your future. Every day, employees complain loudly. Some argue emotionally in meetings. Others constantly expose their frustrations to everyone around them. But there is one employee who understands the power of silence and the power of emotional discipline. That employee notices the problems also. Remember, they are not blind. But instead of wasting energy battling every small battle, they stay focused on their bigger goal, gaining experience, earning income, building skills, and creating opportunities for the future. Then in the next days, those who are complaining loudly, who are trying to criticize the institution, they lose their job. But But that employee who stayed silent earns promotion, builds connections. This is why we say silence can enhance to accomplish your goals. Now, lastly, you are a spokesperson like me here, and you don't know what exactly to do to overcome the situation. Here are the practical actions. The first action: be dumb. Don't think you know much, even if you truly know. Don't act like you are directing them. Do not act like you are participating. Second act: leave. If you feel anger is rising, your mind is hitting to say something terrible, find a quiet place. Sit alone. Talk to yourself if you must. Let your brain breathe. The third action: swallow the key sentence. For instance, you can say, "That's the human nature. Something terrible is going on with their minds. None of my business." This helps you to ignore and focus on yourself. The fourth and final action: learn to breathe heavily when you receive the harsh words. The chest releases tension. You relax. My final say: better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubts.